We got an ACC Championship game on Saturday in Charlotte between North Carolina and Clemson, a rematch of the 2015 ACC Championship, although both programs are in completely different places. I think 2015 was a surprise for Larry Fedora, whereas with Mac Brown, this has kind of been a culmination of why he came back, stacking recruiting class after recruiting class, and you see the payoff with Drake May and the crew. Meanwhile, Clemson's coming off a loss to South Carolina, and there's been an attitude that I've seen emailed to me. I've seen some sentiment in my mentions on social media that there's not a lot of buzz going into this game because there's no college football playoff implications. And I would say, well, yeah, this is not the first ACC championship game with zero college football playoff implications. We had one last year. And I would say that for North Carolina, this is really freaking important because they have not won an ACC title since 1980. So, and it's there for them. That's the thing about this game. It's absolutely there for them, and I don't want to go full vibes here, but maybe you can follow up on this here, Giglio. Clemson plays for different reasons. They're the most SEC-like school in the ACC, right? And what's the usual trope that's used when an SEC school gets beat in a bowl game?
Oh, they didn't try. They didn't care.
They didn't care about it, right?
Yeah.
So there is a level of Clemson, given what they typically play for and how they're going into this game, that North Carolina might be able to take advantage of. Clemson's the team that might be unmotivated in the ACC Championship game. Clemson might be the team that's not really feeling up to their usual selves, whereas Carolina, despite the last 2 weeks not going the way they've wanted to, they could put a good game together and go do something that the school hasn't done since 1980.
The opportunity is definitely there for Carolina, but I've said since Carolina beat Pitt, how Clemson shows up for this game is going to be contingent upon what the other Carolina does against Clemson. If Clemson had blown out South Carolina, as they normally do, I would say to you they'd be fat and happy playing in this game, and you could catch them sleeping. The one thing Clemson actually has to play for, believe it or not, is the same thing that Carolina does. Mm-hmm. That's the ACC Championship, because Clemson did not win the ACC Championship last year. So, woe is the poor second-year player at Clemson that has never experienced winning the ACC title. That isn't, they'll be able to go to the Orange Bowl, but that whole 2-year drought. Oh my gosh, how will they survive without winning another ACC title of 2 whole years? How? Think of the children, Joe.
There's also some question about Clemson and who their starting quarterback is going to be. Clemson's still getting questions about Cade Klubnik versus DJ Uyunglele because ever since the double down on DJ, he hasn't exactly been lighting the world on fire. Here's Dabo Swinney on whether or not DJU is still the starter.
Yeah, he's still the starter. Yeah, still the starter. He did. He's not the reason we lost the game, and he can't catch it. And again, he doesn't play safety. And he doesn't return kicks. So he's got his share of things that he can do better. But he will definitely start the game.
So there you go. He's going to definitely start the game. Meanwhile, Mac Brown looks across the way and sees a veteran Clemson group. They've got that young group. I feel like North Carolina is going to be young forever, given the way they like to recruit. But here's Mac Brown on what they got going on.
We're playing teams that have COVID players, and they got 38 5th and 6th and 7-year players and 31, and we don't. Most of ours are coming back. So everybody's talking bad about us. Better hang on. They're going to be trying to get seats next year.
Okay. Well, that's if everybody stays. Quick context before this clip. Friday, ABC broadcast, they tell a story about Dave Doeren, NC State head coach, talking about, oh, man, they're negative recruiting against us, and we don't like them, and blah, 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 right? And I kind of roll my eyes because it's like, yeah, man, I mean, NC State's not the first school that's dealt with negative recruiting. I'm sure North Carolina's dealt with negative recruiting. Clearly, Mac Brown got wind of this, so he went on his radio show, and he had this to say about, well, negative recruiting. Let's talk about tampering.
There's just a lot of transferring going on out there, and I'm not sure when it happened that any of us thought that it would get to this, and that's what it is. It's just a little bit crazy in recruiting, a lot crazier in the transfer portal. What I hate the most is people tampering and buying people off your team. Mm-hmm. That seems very unfair to me.
Is there any way to police that or slow that down in your mind?
No, there's really not, because it's third parties. It's a high school coach. It's a friend. Now you got an agent. So the agent can be calling around shopping you. Yeah. And that's not third party. He's an agent.
There you go. There's Mac Brown during his radio show talking about some tampering. We'll get into that a little bit more later on, but thought those comments were interesting, and I'm pretty sure the reason why those things came up was because of what was said during that ABC broadcast.